Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It's Shirley here with the energy readings that are coming up. And now this is Soul Hour, and the moon is applying to trine the sun. Sun is squaring Pluto. The moon is applying to trine the sun, and that's given me the energy or the vibe of I talk a lot about karmic relations because it's been Venus and Mars ruled Ketu and Rahu. And then Rahu is going to go into my first house, which is on the seventh and first axis. So there's a lot of just channelings that come around at this time. And this today has been a Mars. Today has been a Mars, okay? It's been Marsy. It's been Marsy in the sky. So, um, so Mars Pluto is also intensity. I make longer videos. So we have Chris Brennan did an 8-hour video. So I'm still humble. I'm it seemed less crazy right now. So thank you, Brennan, for making me look more moderate. And and so what the channelings that are arriving, the eurekas, the insights, the energy, is basically I'm reinstating something that I said after I had to flee a decade-long relation, which was a friendship, very, very good friendship. And then one sudden day, poof, okay, that had to end. And I'm saying that because that relation, there were also a lot of people from the outside trying to separate, trying to mix, trying to mingle, trying to this, trying to that. And at the end of the day, it was the internal things that kind of like, hey, that connection served its cause. Now it's going elsewhere. And I feel that with a lot of what's going on right now and what will be going on with the Neptune, okay, because my previous channeling was like, hey, you Pisces and Virgo ascendants out there, pay attention to your longings and allow the letdowns to unfold, because it's just highly Neptunian, okay, until Neptune leaves Pisces. And because the eclipses just have a duration, this might not be the time where you meet the love of your life and genuinely it is the love of your life, unless something highly important, okay, is operating there, and that's just your karma. But even if you might not see it right away, it's just weird things. I wouldn't count on it. But the thing is that when it comes to separations, divorces, magic that is done to separate people, like all these things, none of that crap works until you actually encounter a situation where you yourself have manifested change, breakthrough in your life. That might mean that you may encounter some people, and that might also mean that you've manifested something that is not that supportive of you on the long run, but it is also a breakthrough that you've been wishing for that can assist you. And so the crisis internally, you may have been manifesting. You may have been dying to die out of You've been dying to get out of stagnation. And so you've been manifesting something that is genuinely in your chart. Okay, the longing is also, it is in your chart, and that's what's up. So for those of you who are looking into, is somebody doing magic on my relations? Is somebody trying to take my life? Is somebody trying to this? Somebody trying to that? Okay, pay attention. None of that crap works unless it's genuinely not the best thing for you. Okay, the crisis will be allowed when it's genuinely need to move out, when you genuinely need to change phases. And then you might have a transitional phase. If you're the type of person that can't do anything without let's say a partner or love in your life, you might have a love in your life that is transitional. Okay, it is meant to transition you from point A to point B and liberate both of you. And that's the point. If this is a marriage that's breaking apart, okay, again, it's not the lover, it's not the third party, known or unknown. It is some sort of a liberation that needs to take place here. And for some of you, it might be that neither the lover, not the husband or wife, are the compatible partner, and you're breaking free or breaking through for the stagnation that you have, while being grateful for the time you shared in each other's life and what you may have contributed, which you probably did. Again, get yourself an astrologer before you get yourself a divorce lawyer. Astrologer is going to help you understand what has the Uranus transit been about, so you can transition and be grateful rather than blame shift and be pitiful and then share the dividends with the lawyer instead of your children, or or even yourselves. A reading is less costly. Okay. So but if you're Pisces ascendant, if you're Virgo ascendant, I can't give you a clarity, because the most clarity I can give you is that you're not going to be seeing clarity until Neptune moves out of this axis, and until the eclipse cycle is pretty much over. And you're gonna need to check what is the coverage for the eclipse. It's 1 minute of eclipse is 1 month of coverage for the eclipse, and you're just not getting the you're dealt the cards of Neptune, and that means a lot of miraculous healings around relations, a lot of surrender, a lot of liquid assets, a lot of surrendering of your partnership and self area in your life. But a lot of dreams come true as well, that may be kind of like later, like, oh, we've been walking in that dream and now it's time to move on to something more, which seems like something more real, but it's kind of like the next dream until Neptune just moves on. So do understand that your internal calling has more power and more impact than other people's calling on your soul. Okay, your soul's calling has more impact, and certain things only are allowed because you need to transition from point A to point B. You need to transition, let's say, out of this relation, out of this situation, out of this work situation, or this living situation, out of the things that have been pulling you back. And so sometimes it can be like a grand illusion is coming into your life, and then you have a disillusionment, but hey, you're sitting pretty in a new house, new job, doing something that you actually love, reconnected with your passions, and so on and so forth. So that is something to keep in mind. It's not the dayness in your life, mostly it's not the dayness in your life that are causing separations. It is the inner compass that have already asked to have something real in life, or to have a breakthrough, and that inner compass is operating more so than external figures trying to get your life or get your relationships or get you to separate or get you to feel lonely or get you to this or get you to that. That is not really the purpose of the tale. It's not really the purpose. It doesn't mean that those people don't exist in your life, okay? And again, I give again the example of when I had a decade-long friendship. Every time somebody else will try to get in between. Every time somebody else will try to get in between, because when we were together, we were a revolution, okay? And it wasn't necessarily, I think it was a Mars-Uranus sextile or something. It just wasn't necessarily anything. But the thing is that we would not let things be as they are, and whatever was narcissistic, controlling, or this or that, we poofed out of our lives and our society, until he could no longer go anymore with what I was going through. And we both needed a tremendous change in our lives and to move on, hopefully, to better paths or better directions. And as you grow spiritually, certain things. And I was tending to prevention of political assassination later, so you will understand it's a different course of living. And this is why I tell you, you might be either entering or with or surrounded with this type of situation where it seems like people try to get in between you. Now, that can both keep you together, and it can keep you together for a while until the relationship has done its course, or it can keep you together forever. I mean, it is both options are available for you. And do understand, sometimes the goal of your relationship, I'm called to say that again, especially with Uranus. Let's say you were a gay couple for 20 years ago, okay? 20 years ago, being a gay couple was revolutionary. Some people still, okay, but then throughout your coupleship, you got married, and you were one of the first couples that got married and promoted gay marriages. And you gave, maybe you were some sort of, a public figure. So that promoted legitimacy for marriages, gay marriages, and the culture and acceptance and what you were going through as couple, so and so and so. And then, okay, you reach the course in life, you've served this goal in life, and you reach the next goal in life. And then you notice what the internal things that were not operating. Maybe one of you was playing the savior part for another, and then you have a very deep longing that you need to fulfill. And then then something fell apart. And that can be because you were serving the role of understanding. You could be, let's say, gay couple. And then, okay, other than being a gay couple, what else do I need? Both of you may ask, what do I need in a relationship? So you want to think about it. My own parents, they married when they were mixed nationalities. Okay, and the family of the father, they're putting... I'm actually growing garlic right now. The family of the father putting garlic for trying to, like, really weird shit happening. Whereas the family of the mother more acceptive. And those things kind of played out for the one. And then after 13, 14 years of marriage, they divorced. So because that served another role, because nobody divorced in the 80s. Okay. There were an unusual couple in the map, okay, especially when they were driving their car and with the nationality mix. So they thought that the father was from the UN. My father did serve in NATO when he was young soldier, but he was not a UN, and he suffered for the UN because everybody thought it was UN. Schmum, sozusagen. And then they were together for 13, 14 years, and then nobody divorced. Okay, after I was born, and then they did divorce. Okay. And so that when that was defiant, that happened. When that was defiant, that happened. So I want you to think about that, because it's not what the other swayed, the other this, the other that. And there can be people that try to come about or to come between. It's not what's up. It's what's internal that makes these shifts towards X or towards Y. I'm a person who's a lot more allowing. Like if I see person, trying to say like, hey, maybe they do have something better together or something like that. And that would usually not come about unless there's something within the connection that still needs certain type of remediation that can't hold, or that doesn't hold water, or that doesn't this, or that doesn't that, and that's between me and the other person. Okay, So that is very, very important to understand. Because right now, there's just a lot going on in the sky, especially around eclipses. And when the eclipses are still with the round cat ruled by Venus and Mars, especially now in royal degree, a lot of black sun rituals, a lot of occult stuff, all these things that are done, and it's important to understand that they only hold so much power over your life, and they would genuinely backfire when you when you that's what it is. It would genuinely backfire and then backfire internationally, and that's what's up. So okay, let's just face that. And so I want to stress that again, especially with the Uranian relationships, that it is not the outside forces, and sometimes your connection is meant to revolutionize something. When it's done its course, you're not going to stay together unhappy forever and after. If it's happier for you to divorce, you will divorce, and sometimes that's the defiant thing for you to do. So please pay attention that it's not the outside forces so much that come in between you. And if they come outside forces, they may serve to actually bring you more together. When it is, yes, when it is the right thing. But it's also the outside forces, but it's also for when it is defiant of society to be together. And it's bringing something new to the world. If you want to think about gay marriage, mixed nationality marriages, just the notion that not every person with a weird plate on the car is enemy or traitor. Especially now, there's so many people without nationalities that need to hold cars because they're refugees or something, and at the same time, the notion that if internally your relationship is not truly satisfying anything other than being defiant, then it will dissolve. Okay, you will break up, and that is important to get. Bringing it together with what I previously said about Mars, the separation here is not finalized. There would still be actions you're going to have to take to make that separation or liberation. And that tells us that the eurekas we have around ourselves, or what we realize around ourselves, it's going to be refined in some way. But anyway, if it's moving towards separation right now, it's unlikely to go towards union in the future. It's just like it's the first step. You might try it again, or you might go over the steps that you've taken of what this entails, or the breakthrough that came with this relation, but you're moving very likely towards a separation. Okay, and that is important. The direction is not shifting in the sense of if you're it's just not shifting towards union, it's shifting towards separating. It's basically shifting towards breaking free. And if you came together at around that time, now this is very important. When did you two come together? Okay, and that the only case where I can see union here is when you two came together around when Mars ingressed to its shade period, because that can mean that you came in together, anything around you that's trying to separate you is going through its course, and it's going to go back to that point, and then either you terminately separate, which with the Mars is very likely the case, I say it again and again, or if for the one case, or maybe that can be, is was we met right upon the ingress, then it is possible, then you're going to continue on this connection, but the action is both of you. The condition to that is that both of you are liberating something. Okay, think about the Mars going towards the liberation point with Uranus. And it's moving towards the square with Uranus. Okay, so you want to understand it would be another karmic test to this relation when Mars squares Uranus, and you'll see that the direction that you take that has one been liberating has a crisis around this liberation, so it will be tested again. But even if I do think it is not, it's more like to get to know yourselves better, to liberate yourself from certain conditions or restrictions in life that's not been true to who you are, to get informed, okay, about to get deeper informed about what this crisis is about, what this thing is about, and all that on that level. So sudden events very likely to take place, and please don't be the type that blames others for what happens inside your relations. That being said, if you are a couple and you take advice of somebody else, for some synastries, for some composites, the advice itself can be misleading. So in that case, it can seem like somebody from the outside is breaking it, but then it's like, do you take that advice? Okay, do you have the sovereignty? Do you take that advice? And that can be a lesson in each other's life, where perhaps when you discontinue to take that advice, then that is going to be supportive of you, or you may reunite or something like that. But this is where, and this is including if you're having a reading, or even if you're having an astrological reading, okay, there can be Neptune transits that can, okay, or you could be of the Libra and Pisces axis, which there is a high Neptune thing. So the most I can say to you as an astrologer is also Pisces ascendant is, don't expect for the illusion to disappear. Don't expect for the fog to disappear. Pay attention to your longings, for your deeper longings and purges that arise at this time. And definitely don't make of someone enemy when they're not, is something that I'm called to say, because you might be thinking, ideation when it comes to enmities. Okay, if it is enemy you deal with, especially like Virgo ascendant, but also for Pisces, but particularly, yes, we may have ideation or devaluation of the partner, and that will reassemble. But the seventh house also house of open enemies, so don't ideate the enemy in the sense that it's not that don't underestimate of what they can do, but more like, if you think about it as wins and losses, you would have to have like a, Jupiter in Mars sign, or Mars in Jupiter, something like that. If you are the type of person who thinks of it in terms of gains and losses, don't overestimate things, because relationships are even. When you talk about wars, it's not about wins and losses. There's something else going on here. Remember the chessboard. You know about the chessboard. It's one of the main symbols of the Masons, the chessboard. And you see that, you see the board itself, okay, the black and white, almost everywhere. And then you see the chess game. One of the greatest symbols is of both the whites and the blacks wiped out. That's been around the 7th of October a lot. That's what I see, where you've been exposed to it later. And we're being shown the chess moves. Don't think, let's say, and you will hear a lot of people say, this is chess, not checkers. All the chess players are intended to be wiped out. So if you think about this as the white and the black, the chess move, the chess, not checkers, the highly strategic, all of that is meant to be wiped out. So if you think about victory, this is they mean to wipe you out with that victory. Okay? That is the intention of like the Masons. Now, if you think about victory in terms of like Archangel Michael and kind of like a victory in a spiritual war or something like that, okay, you know, that this is okay, but you must not think in terms of I'm playing chess, not checkers. Not for this one. Is going to wipe out all the chess players, black and white together. The point is to wipe out the black and white chess, the entire chessboard together. And even if you think in terms of Archangel Michael, if you think of spiritual warfare, you want to understand the difference between spirituality and religion. You want to understand that the history of the philosophical views and the spiritual views that we have. You want to understand that the Peter rings have also been your Oshos and your, who knows if not Buddhas, and your Mohammeds. And yes, I don't know about Jesus, he didn't live long to okay, to rape children, I don't know. Okay. And Moses never got any. I like that's what we know, okay? But this is something you want to consider about entire worldview of religion. So if you think about spiritual warfare and you're thinking about, oh, I'm just going to dress more modestly, they're going to wipe you out. Okay, so the undertone is liberation from that. Liberation from that. That is the undertone. And that is something to remember, especially for the Pisces, for the Neptunian stuff. Okay, the Neptune is the entire mutable axis, and then it's going to go into the cardinal axis. So whatever is not your authentic self is going to be lost when it comes to Aries. And again, it's going to the essential. Just something is very essential. So the takeaway from this, channeling is that yes, there can be people that try to do witchcraft on you, on your life, or to take your life, or to take you this, or to take you that, ushering you only to deepest understanding of your longings, your desires, your passions, your drive. It will only be allowed. Let's say when I was studying, concrete example, I was studying aromatherapy, life direction this time. Yes, there was this someone that wanted me as her TA, and then it's kind of like, you know, betraying or doing things behind my back, or maybe it was MK or whatnot. So it's kind of like that was allowed, but I went into a deeper understanding about what taxation, what the money, what everything that I need to know to be more of where I am right now. And then I learned about astrological magic, because my argument with her was, it's not argument, she was like, hey, nobody's going to come to your healing vocation where they're not in complete crisis in their life. And I'm like, wait, what if we introduce people to the magic of essential oils, regardless of what situations they are in life, whether if the people do it for natural cosmetics, or and then I would discover astrological magic and so on. But what was essentially blooming there is that was not allowed, because that would restrain me from what I came to do, which is actually bigger. And then there was a time where certain things were restrained for me, because it's kind of like Moses and the coal. Okay, so I couldn't sing, so I couldn't this, so I couldn't write, because it was not time for me to go into an industry that is filled with piles upon piles of horrors. Okay, and then there was the addressing of the things that is directly, which is the spirit of the times. So you can see how I could say, oh, this my teacher of aromatherapy betrayed me and tried to gatekeep me and tried to this and tried to that. That would only come when I need to fix my teeth and to purge for the way this has affected like my image, and I wouldn't know about this. I'd just be called to speak about things, and that would be basically gaining, kind of justice or refinement of the image of where I came up until now. But that was still allowed for that betrayal to go, because right now I'm not just an aromatherapist. There are other things, from prevention of political assassination to reclaiming our egregore to bingo spiritual beliefs, inversions of what the origin of, talk about the Chinese view of the sky punishing the land, which is absurd and completely not, very likely not Chinese, because if it's yin and yang, then sky doesn't punish the land. It would deplete itself if it did so. The sky would fall flat if it did so, because that would not be appropriate for the behavior, for the soil, for the trees, for everything that is the land. And so that would only infiltrate China, where there would be some sort of dynasty, world cultish things, that affect for entire, how people from outside, I don't know how people inside, I don't even know if people inside believe it in that way, but for people outside, how they see China, because that is mitigated by, who you would meet in China that speaks. Let's say you're somebody enough to have the budget to travel to China. Who would you speak? Who would speak to you? That he's somebody enough to speak to you about these things. That's all mitigated by secret societies already, and you don't get the actual, the actual things going. So that's definitely not what I was doing with oils. That's definitely not in the scope of what I was, certified to do as prescribing some such and such blends and so on. And not even to treat ailments, but to move the energy around, which is what it does. So you can see how that supposed betrayal, or whatever the fuck they were thinking that they were doing, it was only allowed because anyway I would be compromising myself and getting into way too much commitment and way too much contractual relations and paying way too much taxes to satanic cults. Whereas when it's time for me to actually move on with my life, it's good that I began to make steps forward, but that would only be allowed when I step in. Okay, there's no place for small dreams. When I step into the shoes that I'm meant to step into, naturally with Pluto square, these are bigger shoes than I would have stepped after my Saturn return or my Saturn maturation, or after that, doing this and that certification. And that pertains to astrology as well. So that's something kind of to keep in mind. And when it comes to relationships, it's the same thing. Perhaps you have been compromising tremendous parts of who you are, and that can be associated with gender expression, or that can be associated with parts that have been coping mechanisms about your personality is no longer going to be there, or adherence to certain codes and procedures is no longer necessarily going to be there. And so that more so than anything other governs of what you're going through, and pay attention to the magical healing and recovery that's been happening along the way. Okay, the answers that are given, the things that are truly purged from your life. What is delayed in your life is because you're meant to do something on a grander scale. Okay. even when people that are deceased. One of the greatest channelings that I received from someone who channeled Nick Drake was that about healing of birthing and healing through waves and frequencies. He's a musician, and the importance of birthing, of when a baby is in the womb, the importance of what the mom is going through, and that gave me more strength. Okay, not to bring babies when I wasn't ready. If I was in my 20s, that considered the best biological age to bring babies, but it gave me the courage, okay, to say I want to curate myself before I'm a mom, and for the decision to be based on for what I desire and not for what societal standards and so on. And that would need to change anything that impends on my fertility. It's like the hermaphrodite cults.